One of the maintenance guys at my apartment complex tried to sell me on a 2025 celibacy challenge recently, and it felt intrusive, like he was overstepping, but then our affiliation as a whole has kind of felt like that.
My uncle had one. He said, I'm not playing this anymore. So I said, yeah, I could learn guitar. I'm like really good. Like I used to do like Halloween tricks for the kids, like spooking them out like that. Like my fingers move pretty fast.
And don't get me wrong, I do like the guy. And this might sound a bit modernist coming from me, but I feel like the tenant maintenance guy relationship shouldn't even be a relationship so much as a series of brief interactions followed by something getting fixed.
I haven't read this one. I've read the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That one's good, dude. That one is like, I want to read all these. Like I'd probably come over here every day and just like read every single one of these.
And if there is small talk, it should be non-committal. That has not been my experience with Marcel. He reaches out regularly, asking if I'm free to go bowling and talk shop. He texted me just this morning about some exciting proposition. Like he wants to collaborate or go in on something, and whatever it is, I'm willing to bet. I don't have the bandwidth for it right now. I met him shortly after Hurricane Helene. I got a really bad leak in my bathroom ceiling, and when he came to assess the damage, I offered him a cup of coffee. I just brewed a pot, and it felt rude not to. It was impressive how long it took him to drink it. It's been 2 months, and the hole is still there, and he'll pop in once or twice a week to check on it, see if it's getting worse, offer up some blithe comment like, he's waiting on parts before getting into what's new with him.
I've been getting into F1 lately because there's a new movie coming out. I think Brad Pitt's gonna be like, imagine Brad Pitt, like that Fight Club body, like he's totally able to withstand the G's of these F1. So it's these cars, right? They're going 200 miles an hour around these curves. Do you imagine like that? I feel like it would just like suck your face off or something.
I'm pretty sure you just need someone to talk to, and I'm fine being that guy. I just don't love it when he tries to get me to commit to his approach to psychological and emotional well-being. And that's not to say I don't need to make adjustments. It's just I don't think Marcel is qualified to prescribe this.
He told me that he managed to complete No Nut November this year, and apparently it changed his life. It improved his energy and focus and got him to reevaluate his relationship with porn. And I was like, that's great, man, congratulations. And I really thought that would be the end of that tangent. He doesn't really like sticking to any one topic too long. But then he went on to tell me that he was thinking about upping the ante and doing No Nut next year, which I told him I had never heard of. Then he said, of course I hadn't, because no one has ever done it, and that we would be the first.
The way he said we was haunting, like he truly believed we were gonna pioneer some historic movement together. So I tried snipping it in the bud. I told him that attempting something like No Nut next year might have some negative side effects like epididymal hypertension or an increased risk of prostate cancer, but he just shook his head and said, no risk, no reward. And then he started showing me motivational no-fap content on his phone.
Of course, I practice retaining my vital life force energy.
I told him flat out I probably wasn't gonna do that, so he changed tack and was like, celibacy then. Don't have sex next year. That's when I told him that the way things are going, I might not have sex next year, even without making the conscious decision not to. He was like, what are you talking about? You're a decent enough looking guy. I bet you get plenty of traction on the apps. And I was like, no, actually, most of my Hinge dates the past year have postured like they're the hiring manager of some new concept off the belt line, which I'm not really into. And that if I did have promising ones, things generally fizzled out when they realized how broken I am and or what I drive around in. And he was like, what's wrong with your car? So I showed him. He just shrugged and said charisma trumps whatever's going on in there, and you got it, bud. And I bet if you Ubered yourself to the local watering hole tonight, you could charm just about anyone. And I laughed and said he's clearly not familiar with my relationship with alcohol. These days, if I am out on the town, even at old haunts where I've been charming historically, I end up drinking myself dumb and just bumbling around trying to socialize with people like I'm hell-bent on an anti-PR campaign, which I'm not. I do prefer it when people like me. I just have a bad habit of singling out bar patrons and personnel who give me the side eye and then trying to ingratiate myself with what I mistake for witticisms in the infantile state I've put myself in. And whatever comes out is either a non sequitur, or it doesn't make sense syntactically, or it's just unintelligible owing to a self-imposed speech impediment, I guess. Anyway, I've heard from friends that it can come off very creepy, especially for people who don't know me or the context that I'm a tortured artist who gets wasted in a misguided attempt to connect with neuronormative people in real time. Also, the impaired eye muscle coordination probably doesn't help. He just nodded and told me that I should probably take a break from alcohol. I told him I am, that I'm currently preparing for a role set in deep space 6 months after my character's store of booze has been depleted, and that to get into that headspace, I have to be sober, and alienated for that matter. And then it occurred to me that a 2025 celibacy challenge isn't just doable on my end, but it might be necessary in service of character. He was very pumped to hear that, so I had to ask why he cares so much, whether or not I'm getting laid, and why he's so eager to abstain from sex himself. He ignored the latter question and just said that he's not so much eager to abstain from sex as he is faithful to his wife, which blindsided me because in all the weeks I've known him, he's never once mentioned having a wife. And actually, I think he used the term waifu, which also surprised me because I never took him to be an anime guy. Long story short, he and Clarissa have been married for 5 years. She was toying around with asexuality for 2 of those. There was a brief stint last March where she decided she was not, in fact, asexual, a period that Marcel remembers fondly. And then when Trump got reelected, she ended up joining the 4B movement and moving out altogether. Basically, he's estranged from his wife and he's trying his best not to relapse on porn or even think about other women while he waits around for Clarissa to come to her senses and or home. And I guess he doesn't want to wait alone, which I get. You know, it's the whole misery loves company thing. So yeah, after he opened up about his marital stuff, he got real quiet, something I've never seen him do. So I tried to offer him solace the only way I know how, which is to over-intellectualize everything. I told him something I heard John V say, that romantic relationships are just our culture's attempt to replace God. He stirred a bit and was like, why would we need to do that? So I rehashed a bit of Nietzsche. I said, God is dead, we've killed him, and now we have to find ways to comfort ourselves. And then he asked what this has to do with his marriage. I told him that whole thing about how marriage used to be a political and or practical thing, a way of ensuring that a man's children were his biological heirs, and that spousal love of the romantic variety was probably invented by the French. We just inherited the idea, and when the values Western civilization was built on started to crumble, we started clinging to accessible substitutes as a way of giving our lives some semblance of meaning. And yeah, romance is a great pseudo-religion. You got your rituals, you got your devotion, you got your ideal of oneness. He did not appear to be comforted by that. So I just told him romance, while it can be great, is one of the main sources of suffering in the modern world, and that the misery he is feeling is basic. Then I opened up and told him I've tried living for love before, but I'm not good at it. The last time I toyed with it, my counterpart ended up getting knocked up by the events coordinator at the place I worked. He said something like, I didn't know that, I'm sorry. And I told him there's really no reason my maintenance guy should know that, but here we are. And that it was fine, that it's probably all for the best. I've been able to realign myself with my work, which of course is self-confrontational docufiction and TikTok poetry, and that being the best I can be at those things serves as a guiding star, albeit with mixed results. On good days though, it does give me a stabilizing orientation Other people who are single, childless, and less creatively inclined may devote themselves to making a decent living and or subsuming themselves in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He nodded, starting to get what I was saying, that there are plenty of pseudo-religions out here to choose from if his marriage ends up being totaled. And then he finished his coffee and asked,
Did you want to go bowling?
and I said, sure, why not?
Hey Marcel, we got a buses for Goliath and Fortune.
What were we saying?